Well, this thought forces to the surface perhaps a deeper question. Should we be considering the man's moral character, or his deeds, or both? I think that our evaluation of the deed, that is the approval of the sterilizations and the way that was done, is not touched by the supposition that standards of the time accorded with it. I mean, the false supposition. Even if that were the case, it wouldn't touch that. But our assessment of MacEachran's character certainly is. In the one case, we have someone who exhibits a kind of fanaticism in his pursuit of the goals of eugenics. He is so convinced of the truth and importance of his ideology that given the power, he is willing to go against the moral views of most of his fellow citizens. In the other case, we have someone who agrees with the general moral sentiments of his fellow citizens as merely putting that consensus into practice. No doubt there is some sort of character defect in both cases, but the former is much less excusable than the latter, I think. Is it the case then that the decision to cancel or not cancel the prizes should have primarily considered the moral character of the man, not his deed? The character defect here would be that of fanatical commitment to a false ideology. Is the fact that the ideology is false important here? Are people who have similar commitment to true ideologies like the basic political rights of every individual also suffering from a serious character defect? One thing is certain, no one would cease to honor them on that ground. But then part of MacEachran's character defect would be his believing things that were not true. In fact, since fanatical commitment to true beliefs is often considered a virtue, it seems that the whole of his defect lies in his believing what is false. Or perhaps he believed far too strongly, given the evidence available and the speculative character of the supposed benefits to be garnered from a eugenic policy. This could be considered a particularly bad trait in a philosopher, who by definition is supposed to be careful about how much trust he puts in theories and speculations. But again, it seems, or at least it seemed to me, we are left with something insufficient to justify canceling the prizes. It makes the matter turn on whether MacEachran made a mistake in judgment that he should not have made. But philosophers, not to mention everybody else, make such mistakes all the time and about important matters. Suppose a doctor makes a wrong diagnosis, consequently prescribes the wrong treatment, and the patient dies as a result. Suppose, too, that his wrong diagnosis is the result of not considering certain facts which he should have considered. He certainly may be culpable of professional negligence and open to civil suit. But if a prize had been named after him in the light of his many selfless services he had performed, would we, upon learning of this serious discretion, feel we should cease awarding it? I tend to think not. But then, why do I agree with the decision to cancel the MacEachran prizes? Where is the difference? I think we have to bring in our evaluation of the deed, rather than just the person's character. We have to say, don't we, that the deed here, the string of approvals for sterilization which extended over decades and were made without any real examination of the merits of individual cases, amounts to such a disregard for the basic rights of individual humans that it lies in the realm of real atrocities, not just ordinary crimes. But I know of no way of making this distinction at all precise, and I wonder whether it reflects just a subjective difference in the reactions of those who are passing judgment. However, I find it impossible to say that the deed alone is to be considered and that all considerations of moral character are irrelevant. Even in the case of atrocities, we leave room for finding excuses that attenuate or even eliminate moral culpability. And if such excuses were present in the MacEachran case, they would surely have been relevant to the decision about the prizes. Guards at concentration camps participated in an atrocity, but many of them could not have ended their participation without being shot. maybe the very courageous person would have refused to participate and thereby put his life on the line that way. But it is hard to blame people for not exhibiting that degree of courage. So, in the MacEachran case, it is important that he be fully culpable for the atrocity, and that amounts to some sort of judgment on his character at the time. But considerations about his having been taken in by a false ideology now sound relevant again. They certainly don't eliminate his culpability, but they may attenuate it. I lean, then, to thinking that both the deed and the person's character must be considered. But I know of no way of determining how much weight must be given to each. And in conclusion, let me make this little remark, which sort of ties it back to my own specialty. The ancient skeptics believed in arguing both sides of any case, and thought that this would show that reason alone could not reach any decision. There was difference of opinion about how one should react to this situation. The Pyrrhonist skeptics said that all judgment should be suspended, although one just went ahead with decisions without making judgments about which side in the debate was right. One went with one's gut feeling, or as they said, the appearances. Some academics tended to the view, the skeptics divided into Pyrrhonists and academics, tended to the view that one should make a judgment based on how it appeared to one after examining all the arguments. But the judgment had to be tentative rather than dogmatic. I have to say at this point that I have moved from my original dogmatism to something akin to the academic position so far as this whole dispute about the prizes is concerned. Yes, it was right to cancel the prizes, but I'm not at all sure that no one will come along who will be able to argue me out of that position.